Hey, rock stars. Welcome to the Retail Leasing Playbook podcast. This is a bonus episode where I will do an overview on Section 2 in my book, The Retail Leasing Playbook. Section 2 is called Product Knowledge. The first chapter talks about understanding your lease. So each company usually has a lease form that they go by, or their clients have lease forms that they want you to use in most lease negotiations. Obviously, these are mostly mom and pop lease negotiations because when you're dealing with national tenants like TJ Maxx, Ulta, Ross Dress for Less, they have their own lease forms that they send to you, which you probably in your company have examples of those as well, whether they're online or, in old-fashioned file drawers. So the first chapter in Section 2 says take some time and check out these leases and some of these lease clauses that have been negotiated by leadership in your company or from your clients. Take, especially if you're a rookie, maybe on a Saturday, go in the office for a couple hours or go online from home and read a couple pages, look at a couple clauses every week for at least the first 6 months of your rookiedom, because the lease is our Bible. I'm trying to be sensitive to religion, but the lease in commercial real estate, especially retail leasing, is our Bible. And you will learn so much by going through these lease clauses. Sometimes when you pull a lease out of a file drawer or when you're looking at it online, there's pages and pages and pages. Sometimes, they can be 80 pages. It's crazy. So don't let that intimidate you. Just dive in, read a page at a time, and start familiarizing yourself with the lease, because it is from where everything comes in our business. So the leasing agent who has a strong handle on the lease document will become a rock star far faster than those that don't. The next chapter, 12, talks about meeting the tenants and how important it is when you, especially if you're leasing a property and maybe it's in your town or in another city. When you are visiting the property, go in and introduce yourself to all of the tenants and ask them questions like, what do you think would, do well here at this property? I'm the leasing agent. I'm going to be prospecting and looking for people to bring traffic to the center and your business. Certainly, sometimes when you're in centers that are weaker, a lot of times tenants will take this opportunity to complain to you. Sometimes if the centers are stronger, they won't have time to speak to you. But I always find I learn a lot. If you have a property management department, make sure that they know that you are going to introduce yourself to the tenants, because they can warn you away from going into maybe a specific situation where there's bad blood or that the tenant's in default and you're suing them, and you don't want to get in the middle of anything like that. So definitely give your property manager a heads up so that they in turn can give you a heads up so you don't get in the middle of something you don't want to get in the middle of. The chapter 13, we talk about doing a physical audit of your properties. That's understanding, how many vacancies you have, what are the sizes of the vacancies, what are the conditions of the vacancies, if there is infrastructure that's helpful for a future tenant, like a grease trap or a hood, knowing the sizes of those, knowing the dimensions of the vacancies, knowing if the bathrooms are to ADA code. There's so much. This chapter is chock full of items. There's even includes a checklist. So very important that you, the leasing agent, understands what you're working with as for the shopping center. Do you have a pylon sign? Is there signage available, et cetera, et cetera. Chapter 14 talks about demographics and how important it is to know the demographics of your area. The first thing I do when a client calls me to go canvassing in a certain market outside of my home market where I might fly into a city, I want to know when I get to the property, the first thing I ask the leasing agent is, what are the demographics? Is it lower income, higher income, middle income? Is it young families? Is it older senior population? Because that really is step one of figuring out which tenants we will want to go after to fill our vacancies. And then obviously chapter 15 is called Get the Tenant Mix Right, and that follows to suit what I just was speaking about with the demographics, making sure that you're not going after a hearing aid store where you have a neighborhood full of young families. Chapter 16 is creating your top 5 uses strategy, which I do for every shopping center that I buy. I sit down and I identify who are the top 5 uses and then therefore tenants that I want to go after, so to make the tenant mix of my property the best it can be. So if I have a 7,000 square foot vacancy, do I want to go after a bike store, a patio store, a mattress store? All depending on rents, visibility, exposure, ceiling heights, income demographics, traffic, etc. So that's chapter 16. And then the last chapter in section 2 is learning your health ratios. And that's learning about what should be your occupancy cost ratios compared to the sales. And that's ROCKSTAR status. The leasing agents that know about occupancy health ratios will win every time. So that goes through how you get those occupancy ratios and how to be successful and get it to be a rock star a lot faster than the normal agent who isn't introduced to some of these concepts. So that's the bonus segment for the podcast today on section 2 of the Retail Leasing Playbook. I hope you're enjoying the podcast. If you are, please subscribe, please share it, please push the thumbs up and share it with others so we grow the audience. I will talk to you next week when we start section 3 of the Retail Leasing Playbook. Thanks, everyone.